Supreme Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the massive command ship Emperor's Will, watching the final preparations for humanity's greatest battle. Around him the Grand Armada stretched. Beyond the horizon of space, 75,000 ships, representing the ultimate achievement of human engineering and military doctrine. 5 years had passed since humanity's return to the galaxy. The human empire now controlled over 500 star systems and ruled 500 billion human citizens. But the old powers of the galaxy had finally awakened to the threat. The Galactic Council had assembled the largest fleet in galactic history to stop human expansion once and for all. Emperor Choi. Minho's voice echoed across every ship in the Armada through quantum communication links. Today we face the combined might of a galaxy that fears change. They call us invaders, but we are liberators. We free worlds from stagnation and species from the tyranny of ancient traditions. Victory today will secure humanity's place as the rightful rulers of the galaxy. General Yoonji Hae studied the tactical displays in the command center. She had spent months planning for this moment, analyzing every weakness in Council military doctrine. The enemy fleet was massive and over 100,000 ships from dozens of species, but size alone would not determine the outcome. Phase 1 initiates. In 60 seconds, she announced to the fleet commanders. Remember, this is not a battle of honor or tradition. This is total war. We fight to win. The Council fleet emerged from hyperspace in the traditional formation that had dominated galactic warfare for millennia. Massive capital ships formed the center, surrounded by layers of smaller vessels in neat geometric patterns. It was an impressive sight that had intimidated enemies for thousands of years. High Counselor SciFiPrime commanded the Allied fleet from his crystalline dreadnought. His ancient form pulsed with confidence as he surveyed the human forces opposing him. The humans appeared to be outnumbered, and their formation looked chaotic compared to the ordered ranks of the Council fleet. Begin the formal challenge, SciFiPrime chimed to his communications officer. Offer the humans one final chance to surrender. But the formal challenge never reached the human fleet. Ghost-class stealth ships, invisible to Council sensors, had already penetrated the enemy formation. Their first action was to disable the communication networks that held the Council fleet together. Admiral Kim watched with satisfaction as enemy communications collapsed into chaos. Ships that had coordinated perfectly for millennia suddenly found themselves isolated and confused. The formal battle that the Council expected would never happen. Phase 2, General Yoon commanded. Forge-class mobile shipyards, hidden among the human fleet, began deploying automated manufacturing platforms. Within minutes, new human ships were rolling off production lines in the middle of the battle zone. The Council had never imagined warfare where one side could build reinforcements during combat. Captain Lee So-ra commanded one of the new Titan-class battleships equipped with dimensional artillery. These weapons could strike targets through folded space, bypassing shields and armor to hit enemy ships directly. The technology was based on theoretical physics that the Council species had declared impossible. Target the enemy command ship, Lee ordered. Show them what human science can achieve. The dimensional cannon fired, its energy pulse disappearing into folded space before emerging inside SciFiPrime's flagship. The crystalline dreadnought shattered like glass, taking the Council's supreme commander with it. Across the battlefield, human ships demonstrated capabilities that horrified their enemies. Fighters that could think and adapt faster than alien pilots. Weapons that ignored traditional defenses. Ships that repaired themselves using nanotechnology while fighting. Colonel Shin Hee-jin led boarding parties against Council flagships, her Marines using quantum teleportation to appear directly inside enemy vessels. The Council ships, designed for formal space combat, had no defense against warriors who could materialize anywhere. Flagship secured, Shin reported, as her Marines captured another enemy command ship. Recommend turning their weapons against their own fleet. This was perhaps the most demoralizing aspect of the battle. Council ships found themselves under attack from vessels that had been their allies moments before. Human cyber warfare specialists took control of enemy systems faster than their crews could react. Dr. Lim Young-woo coordinated the psychological warfare campaign from his specialized command ship. Every moment of the battle was broadcast across the galaxy, showing species after species that their invincible fleets were being systematically destroyed by human technology. "Sir?" his aide reported. We're receiving surrender signals from 17 different council species. They're abandoning the battle. Lim nodded with satisfaction. The psychological impact was even more important than the military victory. Every species that watched this battle would understand that resistance to human expansion was futile. The battle that the Council had expected to last months was over in 18 hours. When the last enemy ship either surrendered or fled, the human fleet had lost fewer than 100 vessels while destroying or capturing over 60,000 Council ships. High Counselor Vorthax VII, successor to the destroyed Prime, transmitted his surrender from the wreckage of the Council fleet. His crystalline form flickered with defeat as he spoke. The Galactic Council formally surrenders to the human empire. We request terms for the continuation of our civilizations. Ambassador Lee Sora, Emperor Choi's personal representative, received the surrender aboard the captured Council flagship. She stood in the ancient command chamber where galactic policy had been made for 10,000 years, now under human control. The human empire offers generous terms, Lee announced to the assembled Council survivors. Your species will retain autonomy over your core worlds. In exchange, you will acknowledge human leadership and contribute to the Imperial Commonwealth that will replace your failed government. The terms were indeed generous, but they were also absolute. The old Galactic Council was dissolved. The ancient laws that had governed the galaxy were replaced by human imperial decree. Species that had ruled for millennia became junior partners in humanity's growing empire. Emperor Choi arrived at the galactic core 3 days after the battle, aboard his personal flagship surrounded by an honor guard of 1,000 ships. He stood in the council chambers where humanity had been humiliated and banished 9 years before. General Yoon, his oldest friend and chief advisor, joined him as he looked out at the ancient chamber. Representatives from hundreds of species waited nervously for the new emperor to speak. They thought banishment would humble us, Yoon observed quietly. Instead, they gave us the greatest gift possible, the motivation to surpass them all. Choi nodded as he prepared to address the galaxy. The old council ruled through fear of change. We will rule through the promise of progress. Every species will have the opportunity to grow beyond what they thought possible. His speech was broadcast across every world in the galaxy. The message was simple: the age of stagnation was over. Under human leadership, the galaxy would advance faster than ever before. New technologies would solve ancient problems. Dead worlds would bloom with life. Species would reach potentials they had never imagined. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Worlds that had been suppressed under council rule celebrated their liberation. Species that had been forbidden to advance their technology rushed to join human research programs. The galaxy that had feared human expansion now embraced it. Admiral Kim stood in the command center of the captured council station, now renamed Imperial Command. The massive structure would serve as the headquarters for humanity's galactic government. Ships from across the Empire arrived daily, bringing reports of new territories joining the Imperial Commonwealth. Status report, Kim requested. Sir, his aide responded. We now control over 800 star systems. 12 more species requested membership in the Commonwealth this week. The Imperial fleet has grown to over 200,000 vessels. Kim smiled with satisfaction. The banishment that was meant to end human ambition had instead unleashed it upon the galaxy. The species that had cast them out now served under human leadership, their ancient wisdom guided by human innovation. Emperor Choi stood on the observation deck of Imperial Command, looking out at the bustling space traffic around the galactic core. Ships from hundreds of worlds carried goods, people, and ideas across an empire that grew larger every day. Your Majesty, General Yoon approached with the daily reports. The terraforming project in the Outer Rim is ahead of schedule. The new academy on Vega Prime has graduated its first class of alien officers. The research station at Kepler has made another breakthrough in quantum technology. Choi reviewed the reports with satisfaction. This was what the Council had never understood, that progress required change and change required freedom. Under their rigid system, the galaxy had stagnated for millennia. Under human rule, it was advancing at unprecedented speed. The former outcasts of the galaxy now ruled it completely. The exile that was meant to be punishment had become the foundation of the greatest empire in galactic history. And this was only the beginning. The human empire stretched across 1,000 worlds and would soon reach beyond the galaxy itself. Admiral Kim Tae-ho watched the tactical display as his fleet prepared to exit hyperspace. 8 years had passed since humanity's banishment. 8 years of building, planning, and preparing for this moment. The first expeditionary fleet consisted of 5,000 ships, but they represented technology and tactics that the galaxy had never seen. All ships report ready. Admiral, Captain Ryu Seong-ho announced from the bridge of the assault carrier Retribution. His ship carried 200 fighter bombers and 3,000 Marines in advanced power armor. Kim opened a channel to the entire fleet. Today we return to galactic civilization, not as the desperate refugees who were cast out, but as the masters of our own destiny. The Kepler sector belongs to humanity now. Take it. The fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Ahead of them lay the Kepler sector, rich in rare minerals and defended by a small Vorthak patrol force. Intelligence reports indicated only 30 crystal ships guarded the entire region. Commander Vorthak 7, leader of the patrol fleet, received the sensor reports with confusion. His crystalline body flickered with uncertainty as he studied the readings. Impossible, he chimed to his officers. The humans were banished. They cannot be here. His sensor operator, a younger crystal being, harmonized nervously. Sir, I count over 5,000 vessels. Their energy signatures are unknown. These are not the ships we remember. Vorthak 7 had commanded patrol fleets for 3 centuries. He had never seen anything like the sleek, predatory vessels that now filled his sensors. The old human ships had been bulky, slow, and limited in range. These new vessels moved with deadly grace, their hulls dark and angular like hunting beasts. Kim opened a communication channel to the Vorthak commander. This is Admiral Kim Tae-ho of the Human Imperial Fleet. You are in violation of human territorial claims. Surrender your vessels and you will be treated according to the laws of war. The crystal being's response came immediately. Human, you are the one in violation. This sector belongs to the Vorthak Dominion under council law. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Kim closed the channel and turned to Captain Ryu. Show them the consequences. The Retribution launched its fighter squadrons in a coordinated swarm that overwhelmed Vorthak sensors. The crystal beings were used to formal space combat, ships in neat lines exchanging fire according to ancient traditions. They had no experience with the chaotic fury of human fighter tactics. Colonel Shin Hye-jin led the Marine assault from the front. Her power armor was a masterpiece of human engineering, combining speed, strength, and firepower in ways that made her soldiers unstoppable in close combat. The Vorthak ships built for space combat had weak internal defenses. Boarding successful on Target 7, Shin reported as her Marines cut through crystal corridors. Minimal resistance. These ships weren't designed to be boarded. The first Vorthak vessel surrendered within minutes. The crystal beings found themselves facing armored humans who moved faster than their defensive systems could track. Worse, the humans used weapons that disrupted the harmonic frequencies that held Vorthak technology together. Dr. Lim Young-woo monitored the psychological warfare broadcasts from his command ship. Every moment of the battle was being recorded and transmitted across council communication networks. The message was simple. Humanity had returned and they were not the same species that had been banished. Commander Vorthak 7 watched his fleet crumble with growing horror. His ships were being taken intact, their crews captured rather than killed. The humans were demonstrating a level of tactical sophistication that shocked him. Surrender signal from Vorthak 7, Kim's communications officer reported. Kim nodded. Accept their surrender. Have them transported to the prison ships. The battle for the Kepler sector lasted 18 hours. When it ended, 30 Vorthak ships had been captured along with their crews. The humans had lost exactly 0 vessels with only minor damage to a few fighters. As the human fleet spread out to occupy the sector, Kim received reports from his survey teams. The Vorthak had been mining the region for decades, but their methods were primitive compared to human techniques. More importantly, the sector contained rare elements that would fuel humanity's next phase of expansion. Captain Ryu joined Kim on the bridge of the flagship. Admiral, what do we do when the Council demands our withdrawal? Kim smiled coldly. We tell them that we are no longer bound by Council law. We were banished from their civilization. We are not returning to it. We are replacing it. The psychological impact of humanity's return rippled across the galaxy faster than their ships. Council species that had dismissed humans as primitive newcomers now watched recordings of crystal ships being torn apart by unknown weapons. The formal, ritualized warfare they understood had been replaced by something brutal and efficient. On the Council homeworld, emergency sessions convened as representatives tried to understand what had happened. The humans had not simply returned. They had evolved into something the galaxy had never seen. HFY, the gas cloud being who had voted for human banishment, addressed the emergency assembly. The reconnaissance reports are clear. These are not the ships or weapons we remember. In 8 years, the humans have developed technology that surpasses our own. HFY's crystal form flickered with agitation. Impossible. They were isolated in their home system. How could they advance so quickly without our guidance? Perhaps, suggested an old reptilian counselor, our guidance was holding them back. The truth was beginning to dawn on the Council. By banishing humanity, they had removed all restrictions on human development. The technology-sharing agreements that had limited human research were gone. The peaceful exploration mandates that had slowed their expansion were meaningless. For 8 years, humanity had been free to become whatever they chose to become, and they had chosen to become conquerors. Admiral Kim established his headquarters on the largest mining station in the Kepler sector. The facility was expanded rapidly as human engineers applied their advanced construction techniques. Within weeks, it became a fortress that could support future operations. Colonel Shin's Marines proved their worth beyond the boarding actions. The power armor that made them unstoppable in ship corridors also made them perfect for the dangerous work of asteroid mining and space construction. Projects that had taken the Vorthak years were completed by humans in weeks. "Sir," Captain Ryu reported, "we're receiving a formal communication from the Galactic Council. They demand our immediate withdrawal and threaten military action if we refuse." Kim read the message carefully. It was written in the formal language of Council diplomacy, full of references to ancient laws and traditional procedures. It was exactly the kind of response he had expected from a government that had not changed in millennia. He composed his reply with equal formality. "The Second Human Empire recognizes no authority beyond Sol System. The Kepler sector is now under human protection. Any attempt to remove us will be considered an act of war." Dr. Lim ensured that Kim's response was broadcast across every Council communication network. The message was clear. Humanity was not asking for permission. They were announcing their presence as an equal power. The Council's next message arrived within hours. It was longer, more desperate, filled with appeals to galactic peace and offers of negotiation. Kim deleted it without reading it completely. "They're afraid," he told his staff. "For 10,000 years, they've controlled the galaxy through laws and traditions. Now they face something that doesn't recognize their authority, and they don't know how to respond." As the months passed, the Kepler sector became humanity's first foothold in their new empire. Mining operations extracted resources at unprecedented rates. Shipyards began producing vessels designed for the specific challenges of galactic conquest. Training facilities prepared the next generation of human warriors for the campaigns to come. The Council sent occasional probe ships to monitor human activities, but they kept their distance. The recordings of what had happened to the Vorthak patrol fleet had convinced them that direct confrontation would be costly. Kim stood in his command center, studying holographic displays of nearby star systems. Each one represented a potential target for humanity's next expansion. The galaxy was vast, but human ambition was unlimited. "Admiral," his aide reported, "intelligence indicates the Council is attempting to organize a unified response to our presence." Kim nodded. "Let them try. They've grown soft in their 10,000 years of peace. They've forgotten how to fight a real war." The return to galactic civilization was complete. Humanity had announced itself as a new power, backed by technology and tactics that the ancient Council could not match. The age of human dominance was beginning. President Choi Min-ho stood before the largest gathering in human history. Every screen on every human world showed his face as he prepared to speak. Behind him, Earth's blue sky was darkened by the massive fleet of returning colony ships. "My fellow humans," he began, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Today we face the greatest challenge our species has ever known. The Galactic Council has cast us out, believing that isolation will make us weak. They are wrong. In the Sol system, ships arrived every hour. Massive transport vessels carried millions of colonists from dozens of worlds. The colony on Kepler 442b had been humanity's pride, a garden world with floating cities and crystal farms. Now its 3 million residents crowded onto evacuation ships, leaving behind the work of decades. General Han Soo-jin watched the evacuation from the bridge of the battleship Harmony. Her sharp eyes tracked every vessel, making sure none were left behind. The Council had given them 30 days, but Han knew they might attack early if they sensed weakness. "General," her aide reported, "the last transport from the Vega colonies just jumped to hyperspace. All outer colonies are now evacuated." Han nodded. "And the mining stations?" "Stripped clean. We took every piece of equipment, every ounce of rare metals. If the Council wants those systems, they'll find nothing but empty space." This was Han's idea. If they had to abandon their colonies, they would take everything valuable with them. The Council expected broken, desperate refugees. Instead, they got organized evacuation fleets loaded with advanced technology and hardened populations. Engineer Kang Jae-sung worked day and night in the orbital shipyards around Earth. The returning colonists brought with them innovations from dozens of worlds, new metal alloys from high-gravity planets, energy crystals from asteroid mining operations, biological computers grown in the research labs of distant worlds. "Sir," his assistant called out, "the new engine design is ready for testing." Kang looked at the holographic display showing their breakthrough quantum drive. It was twice as fast as anything the Council species used, based on research that had been impossible under their strict technology-sharing rules. "Begin production immediately," Kang ordered. "I want every ship in the fleet upgraded within 6 months." President Choi had declared martial law, but it was unlike any military government in human history. Instead of oppression, it brought focus. Every human worked toward the same goal, making their species strong enough to never be helpless again. Admiral Kim Tae-ho, now promoted to Supreme Fleet Commander, stood in the command center of Earth's new orbital fortress. The massive structure grew larger every day as construction crews worked around the clock. Soon it would be the largest military installation in known space. "Status report," Kim called out. "Sir, we now have 47,000 active ships," his aide reported. 15,000 more under construction. "The new Titan-class battleships will be ready for testing next month." Kim smiled grimly. When they had left the Council, Earth's fleet numbered barely 200 ships. The Council expected humanity to remain weak, trapped in their home system with nowhere to grow. They were learning how wrong they could be. Dr. Park So-min led a team of scientists in reverse engineering every piece of alien technology they had acquired during their 50 years in the Council. Without the restrictions of Council law, they could finally unlock secrets that had been forbidden to them. "The Vorthak crystal technology," she explained to her team, "is based on harmonic resonance. But they only use it for communication. Watch what happens when we apply it to weapons systems." The test beam carved through a meter of solid steel like it was paper. The scientists cheered, but Park was already thinking bigger. If they could weaponize crystal harmonics, what else could they do? On the industrial world of Mars, factories worked day and night. The red planet had become humanity's forge, producing ships and weapons at a pace that would have amazed the Council. The returning colonists had brought industrial techniques adapted for dozens of different environments. Combined with Earth's population and resources, they created a manufacturing capability unlike anything in galactic history. General Han visited the Mars shipyards to inspect the new Storm-class destroyers. These ships were her design, fast, heavily armed, and built for the kind of warfare that the Council had never seen. "They're beautiful," she told Kang as they watched a newly completed destroyer launch from the shipyard. "They're deadly," Kang replied. "Faster than anything the Council flies, with enough firepower to take on ships 3 times their size." Han nodded. "The Council fights like it's still a ritual. Formation flying, honor duels, formal challenges. They're going to learn that humans fight to win." In the deep labs beneath Earth's surface, weapons designers worked on projects that would have horrified the peaceful Council. Kinetic bombardment systems that could crack planets, stealth technology that made ships invisible to alien sensors, automated fighting drones that could think and adapt in real time. Counselor Yoon Ji-hee, now serving as President Choi's chief strategist, studied intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Human traders and diplomats had built networks during their 50 years in the Council. Those networks still functioned, bringing valuable information about Council activities. "They're not even watching us," Yoon reported to the president. Their intelligence services filed reports saying humanity was neutralized and no longer a threat. They've moved on to other concerns. President Choi leaned back in his chair. Good. Let them think we're broken. Let them believe their own propaganda. When we return, the shock will be total. As the years passed, human space became a fortress. The asteroid belt was turned into a vast network of defensive platforms and manufacturing centers. Jupiter's moons became naval bases housing fleets that grew larger every month. Saturn's rings hid construction projects that pushed the boundaries of known technology. The Council had intended for isolation to weaken humanity. Instead, it gave them the freedom to develop without interference. No more technology sharing agreements that favored older species. No more restrictions on military development. No more limits on expansion within their own system. Admiral Kim stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Defiance, humanity's first truly massive warship. The vessel was 5 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. It was also just the prototype. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving intelligence updates from the outer monitoring stations. The Council has grown complacent. Their fleets are scattered across the galaxy, maintaining their old patrol patterns. They haven't adapted to the possibility of human return. Kim studied the strategic displays. After 7 years of isolation, humanity had built the most advanced military force in galactic history. More importantly, they had developed the doctrine and training to use it effectively. How many ships do we have now? Kim asked. 53,000 active vessels, sir. Another 20,000 in various stages of construction. Kim nodded. The time was almost right. Humanity had spent 7 years preparing for their return to galactic civilization. But they would not be returning as the same species that had been banished. They would return as conquerors. President Choi's final address to the fleet was broadcast across human space. The Council cast us out believing we were weak. They gave us time to grow strong. Now we will show them what humanity has become. We are no longer asking for membership in their civilization. We are taking our place as its rulers. The exile was ending. The Empire was about to begin. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood in the great chamber of the Galactic Council, his blue uniform crisp under the strange alien lights. Around him, hundreds of beings from across the galaxy watched with cold eyes. Some looked like walking crystals. Others were clouds of gas held together by force fields. All of them seemed angry. Dr. Park So-min sat behind him at the Earth delegation table. Her hands shook as she held the datapad with all their evidence. Captain Lee Dongwoo was next to her, his jaw tight with anger. Counselor Yoon Ji-hai, the youngest member of Earth's team, kept her face calm but her eyes burned. The head of the council was a massive crystal being called HFY. When it spoke, its voice rang like bells. We are here to judge the humans. They have broken the sacred laws of galactic peace. Kim stepped forward. We saved lives. The mining station was destroying a world with living beings on it. Silence. The crystal flashed red. You attacked a lawful Vorthak operation. You had no right to interfere. Park stood up quickly. The planet had primitive life forms. Our scans showed clear biological activity. The Vorthak were killing an entire ecosystem for minerals. A gas cloud being called Netherian floated forward. Its voice was like wind through caves. Young species always think they know better. You humans have been in space for barely 50 years. We have maintained galactic peace for 10,000 years. Lee could not stay quiet anymore. Peace? You call strip mining living worlds peaceful? Those creatures had a right to exist. The chamber filled with angry sounds from hundreds of alien throats, vents, and communication devices. HFY's crystal body glowed brighter. This is exactly why humans are dangerous. You are too emotional, too quick to act, too aggressive. Yoon finally spoke, her voice steady and clear. We followed our moral code. When we see suffering, we act to stop it. Is that wrong? An old reptilian counselor hissed from across the room. Your moral code means nothing here. You disrupted an authorized operation. You threatened Vorthak citizens. You showed complete disregard for council authority. Kim felt his heart sink. He had hoped they could make the council understand. We tried to contact the council first. The communication took too long. By the time we got permission, the entire species would have been dead. That is not your decision to make. HFY rang out. The council decides what lives and what dies. Not humans. Park pulled up holographic images from her datapad. They showed the beautiful crystal forests of the mining world, filled with strange flowing creatures that moved like liquid light. These beings were intelligent. They had language, culture, art. Look at these recordings. But the council members were not interested. Most of them turned away from the images. A few made disgusted sounds. The Netherian spoke again. We have seen enough. The humans are chaos bringers. They cannot be trusted with the responsibility of galactic citizenship. Kim felt desperate. Please, we can learn. We can follow your rules. Just give us another chance. You have had your chance, HFY said. For 50 years we watched you. We saw how quickly you spread to new worlds. We saw how you changed everything you touched. We saw your weapons grow stronger each year. We were patient, hoping you would learn wisdom. Instead, you proved that you are exactly what we feared. Lee stood up, his fists clenched. What we feared? We saved lives. You destroyed order, the crystal being replied. Order is more important than individual lives. This is something humans will never understand. The vote came quickly. Species after species declared humans unfit for galactic society. The numbers appeared on the great screen. 847 votes for banishment, only 3 against. Kim recognized the 3 species that voted for humanity. Young civilizations like Earth, who had also struggled to fit into the Council's ancient ways. HFY's final words rang through the chamber like a funeral bell. The species known as humans are hereby banished from galactic civilization. You have 30 standard days to recall all human colonies and vessels to your home system. After that time, any human presence beyond the Sol system will be considered an act of war. You will remain in your system until the Council decides you have learned wisdom. That may take centuries or millennia or never. Kim felt the weight of failure crushing down on him. 50 years of careful diplomacy, destroyed in one moment of conscience. He thought of the billions of humans on dozens of worlds, all of whom would now have to abandon their homes. As the Earth delegation prepared to leave, Yoon walked up to Kim. Her voice was quiet, but there was something dangerous in it. Admiral, they think banishment will break us. Kim looked at her tired face. Maybe it will. Yoon shook her head slowly. No, they have no idea what they just unleashed. We came here wanting to belong. We tried to follow their rules, be good citizens, earn their respect. Now we know the truth. What truth? Park asked, still staring at the images of the beautiful creatures they had saved. That they never wanted us here in the first place, Yoon said. They were looking for an excuse to get rid of us. They're afraid of us, Admiral. Afraid of what we might become. Lee nodded grimly. She's right. Did you see how they talked about our expansion? Our weapons? They're not angry about the mining station. They're angry because we're growing too fast for their comfort. Kim thought about this as they walked back to their ship. The Council had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. In that time, technology had barely changed. Borders stayed the same. Everything was stable, peaceful, and completely controlled. Then humans arrived. In 50 years, they had gone from one world to dozens. Their technology improved every year. Their ships got faster, their weapons more powerful, their colonies more successful. The old species watched this rapid growth and saw danger. As their ship left the Council station, Kim stood on the bridge looking back at the massive structure. 30 days, he said quietly. Yoon joined him at the window. 30 days to recall everyone. 30 days before we're cut off from the galaxy forever. What do we do? Park asked. Kim turned to face his team. For the first time since the trial began, he smiled. It was not a happy smile. We go home. We tell our people what happened here. And then we show the galaxy exactly why they were right to fear us. The ship turned toward the distant Sol system, carrying news that would change human civilization forever. Behind them, the Council celebrated their victory over the dangerous humans. They had no idea that they had just made the greatest mistake in galactic history. Emperor Choi Min-ho stood on the observation deck of his new capital ship, watching the construction of Kepler Prime. The planet that had once been a barren rock was now blooming with human terraforming technology. Crystal cities rose from the surface while orbital platforms managed the flow of resources from across human space. 2 years had passed since humanity's return to the galaxy. The Kepler sector was now just the beginning of an empire that stretched across dozens of star systems. Every month brought new conquests as human fleets pushed deeper into space that the Council had controlled for millennia. Fleet Admiral Park, Wu Jin commanded the northern expansion fleet from the bridge of the dreadnought Conqueror. His target was the Etherian Collective, 12 star systems controlled by beings of pure energy, who considered themselves the galaxy's greatest intellectuals. Admiral, his science officer reported, "We're detecting the Etherian border defenses. Energy barriers across all major hyperspace routes, just as intelligence predicted." Park studied the tactical display. The Etherians had surrounded their territory with walls of pure energy that could supposedly stop any physical attack. For 1,000 years, these barriers had protected them from all threats. They had never faced human ingenuity. "Deploy the resonance torpedoes," Park ordered. The new weapons were based on captured Vorthak crystal technology, improved by human scientists who understood harmonic frequencies better than their creators. The torpedoes passed through the energy barriers as if they were not there, each one carrying a payload that would disrupt the quantum matrices that held Etherian society together. SciFiPrime felt the first torpedo strike as a discordant note in the harmony of his existence. His energy form flickered with confusion as unknown frequencies tore through his carefully ordered reality. Around him, other Etherian leaders experienced the same disruption. "Impossible," Prime harmonized to his council. "The barriers are absolute. Nothing physical can penetrate them." "The humans have found a way," another Etherian replied, its energy form already beginning to destabilize. "Their weapons target our fundamental structure. We cannot maintain cohesion under this attack." The northern fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Park's ships spread out across the Etherian home system, their weapons trained on the energy being's quantum stabilization platforms. Without those platforms, the Etherians would slowly dissolve back into random energy. "This is Fleet Admiral Park of the Human Imperial Navy," he broadcast on all frequencies. "Your defenses have been neutralized. Surrender your territories and you will be allowed to maintain your existence under human protection." The response came within minutes. SciFiPrime's communication was filled with the harmonic equivalent of desperation. "We surrender. Please do not destroy our quantum matrices. We will serve the human empire." Park accepted their surrender with satisfaction. The Etherians were renowned across the galaxy for their intellectual achievements. Under human rule, that intelligence would serve the empire's expansion. In the southern sectors, Admiral Song Mi-kyung faced a very different challenge. The Zephyrian horde was a militaristic species of insectoids who believed that strength came only through combat. Unlike the Etherians, they would never surrender without a fight. "Ma'am," her tactical officer reported, "Zephyrian swarm approaching. Over 10,000 vessels in loose formation." Song smiled. The Zephyrians were famous for their numbers, but they had never faced human drone technology. "Launch the automated defense grid." The human fleet released thousands of small drones, each one equipped with advanced artificial intelligence and enough firepower to destroy ships many times their size. The drones moved in coordinated swarms that adapted to enemy tactics in real time. Zephyrian Commander Buzz led the attack with the confidence of a warrior who had never known defeat. His insectoid features twisted with anticipation as his massive fleet closed with the smaller human force. "Crush the soft skins," he clicked to his subordinates. "Show them the power of the horde." But the battle did not go as Buzz expected. The human drones swarmed through his formation like mechanical insects, destroying ships faster than his pilots could react. Worse, the drones learned from each encounter, adapting their tactics to counter Zephyrian strategies. Within hours, half of Buzz's fleet was destroyed. The survivors found themselves surrounded by mechanical predators that seemed to anticipate their every move. "Impossible." Buzz clicked in dismay. "We are the swarm. We are the many. How can these few metal insects defeat us?" The answer came from Admiral Song herself. "You fight like insects, predictable and limited by instinct. Our machines think like humans, creative, adaptive, always learning." The Zephyrian surrender came after 3 days of hopeless combat. Buzz himself was captured when human drones disabled his flagship's engines and swarmed aboard. He would spend the rest of his life trying to understand how his superior numbers had been defeated so completely. Governor Nam Hyun-sik arrived in each conquered system with teams of administrators, engineers, and terraforming specialists. His job was to transform military victories into productive colonies that would fuel further expansion. "The key," Nam explained to his staff as they surveyed a newly captured world, is to make conquest beneficial for everyone. The local populations keep their homes and cultures. In exchange, they gain access to human technology and protection. This approach proved remarkably successful. Species that had expected brutal occupation instead found themselves part of a growing empire that offered opportunities they had never imagined. Human terraforming turned dead worlds into gardens. Human medicine extended lifespans across dozens of species. Human technology solved problems that had plagued civilizations for centuries. Spymaster Oh Yunji monitored Council communications from her hidden base in the asteroid fields between territories. Her network of agents and automated monitoring stations intercepted thousands of messages daily, building a complete picture of how the galaxy was responding to human expansion. "The panic is spreading," she reported to Emperor Choi during their weekly briefing. "Council species are abandoning their outer colonies and consolidating around their core worlds. They're finally beginning to understand the scope of our capabilities." Choi studied the intelligence reports with satisfaction. Fear was a powerful weapon, often more effective than the fleets themselves. Every species that surrendered without fighting was another system added to the empire without cost. "What about unified resistance?" Choi asked. Oh smiled grimly. "They're trying to organize, but their decision-making process is too slow. By the time they agree on a response to our expansion in one sector, we've already moved into 3 others." This was perhaps humanity's greatest advantage. The Council species had governed through consensus for so long that they had forgotten how to make quick decisions. Formal debates that lasted months gave human forces time to complete entire campaigns. The Empire's growth was not just military. Human scientists worked to understand and improve upon every piece of alien technology they encountered. The crystal harmonics of the Vorthak became the basis for new communication systems. Etherian energy manipulation improved human power generation. Even the Zephyrian swarm tactics were studied and incorporated into drone programming. Engineer Kang Jae-sung led teams that built new classes of ships designed for different types of conquest. Siege ships for cracking heavily defended worlds, fast raiders for hit-and-run tactics, massive carriers that could deploy entire armies across interstellar distances. "Each species we encounter teaches us something new," Kang explained to his design teams. "The Vorthak showed us harmonic technology. The Etherians revealed the secrets of energy manipulation. The Zephyrians demonstrated swarm coordination. We take the best of each and make it better." By the end of the 4th year since humanity's return, the Empire controlled 127 star systems. Each system was connected by a network of hyperspace routes that allowed rapid movement of ships, supplies, and information. The old Council borders had been erased, replaced by the expanding sphere of human influence. Emperor Choi received the Council's latest message with amusement. It was their most desperate yet, offering to negotiate humanity's readmission to galactic civilization in exchange for an end to expansion. He composed his response carefully. "The human empire does not seek readmission to your civilization. We are offering you the opportunity to join ours. The old order of the galaxy is ending. The new order has already begun." The message was broadcast across every known communication frequency, ensuring that every species in the galaxy would hear it. The Council's age of dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun. Standing on the bridge of his flagship, Emperor Choi looked out at the growing fleet that surrounded Kepler Prime. Thousands of ships representing the pinnacle of human achievement, crewed by warriors who had never known defeat. "Status report," he commanded. "Sir," his aide responded, "all expansion fleets report successful operations. The Northern Fleet has secured the former Etherian territories. The Southern Fleet has completed occupation of the Zephyrian worlds. The Eastern Fleet is beginning operations against the Reptilian Alliance." Choi nodded with satisfaction. The galaxy was vast, but human ambition was unlimited.